Well, I got the same shirt on I had on last week, though. I think
Hello,
people notice.
Nobody's even going to notice. Another edition, episode number 51 of the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast. We're keeping that in, by the way. My name is Jim. You can call me James or, James Anthony, Tony. I had a girl, she was a friend in college. She used to sometimes call me Tony, but I would never answer because I didn't know that she was calling me Tony. So the joke was on her.
Right.
Joining me. What, Mr. Same Shirt from last week? What do you got? What do you want to contribute to the show, Mr.
Obviously not any fashion.
My Mr. Professional Evaluator, successful business owner, my former coach, friend, and co-host, and the people's champ himself, Jake Epstein. What do you got?
Yeah, we just logged in, and I'm like, I think I'm wearing the same shirt I wore last week for the show.
Well, the good news
my apologies. It is clean.
Yeah, and the bed was not in the background.
No. I'm in a different location, blue screen.
Do you want to tell people? Okay, it's a blue screen.
Yeah,
I was going to say, do you want to tell people where you are and why you're there? I mean, you're kind of dropping a plug, but if you don't want to, you don't have
No,
to.
it's not a blue screen. Down in Texas at the lab. So for the next week to see all our players and members, and we got a couple new coaches that have been helping us out. So kind of help get those guys trained up and, on what we work on hitting. We want all our guys kind of on the same page, both with, mechanics and what we want, our hitters to look like, to make sure that we're not letting them get bad habits, or we're not fixing their bad habits, most importantly, but also in mindset, also in plan and approach. It's very important that we're all on the same page. So, we'll have a couple meetings this week, get everybody on the same page, but it'll be pretty cool. We have one guy, Mikey Reynolds, who's a former shortstop here at Texas A&M. And so he's helping us out for the next month or two. And then he's going on to play for a couple months. He's still playing independent ball, and then he'll probably be back with us again for the remainder of the year. So excited about that.
I think you and I have to get on the same page about something, and we might as well just get into this now. Bo Bichette this past week, I mean, he was out of this world. He's 23 years old. And I don't want to jump to any sort of conclusions here, but with the talk of Bo and what he's done this past week, we brought it up last week. Go back and listen to that, or watch it on our YouTube page. Of course, we did talk about Bo. His numbers are insane. He might have some of the best bat to ball skills that I've seen in a young major leaguer, maybe outside your guy, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And you can put Ronald Acuna Jr. in that category as well. But Bo Bichette may have some of the best bat to ball skills right now in all of Major League Baseball.
He's pretty good. Well, I saw that home run he hit to right center field, the walk-off, which was, I mean, it wasn't beautiful. He fell down. He didn't have good balance, but he swung so hard. Like, his approach was, I am going to destroy this ball. I'm going to obliterate this thing. It ended up being on the outer half. He was still aggressive on it. He didn't quit on it. He didn't say, it's outer half, I'm going to, shoot it to right field or flip it to right field. And he caught barrel. Like, I played it back in slow motion. He caught barrel. He got under him a little bit, launched it really high. There's some wind blowing out, and thank you, game winner. But that doesn't happen if he doesn't have the right approach. He doesn't have the right mindset. And I was pretty impressed by that. But he grew up with it. We talked about this last week, I think.
Yeah.
He grew up, watching his dad, listening to his dad's teammates talk about hitting and approach and what we're looking for, and, what part of the game are we in, and what do I need to do here to be, a good teammate? Is it hitting behind a runner, or is it trying to hit a ball out of the park to end the game? And I think he's definitely next level with the guys that are his age in the major leagues. Like, I think it takes guys a long time to get where he is already.
So I'm going to level with you. I will say that ballpark, I would know. I do know
that
ballpark.
That's your ballpark.
That ballpark, the wind, it really swirls, and it has a nice jet stream, especially out towards right center field. So he did. I will say this: he did get under that ball. He did get under that ball, but you can't take away from
just game-winning home run. Absolutely not.
Or his talent in general.
Oh yeah.
I don't see him swing and miss
good.
much. I don't see that in him. We've talked about Kevin Biggio on this show. I mean, we're on a topic of Blue Jays. We can talk about Gleyber Torres as well. I see a lot of swings and misses with him. I see a lot of swings and misses with Kevin Biggio. I see a lot of swings and misses with Kevin Kiermaier. I see a lot of swings and misses with Bryce Harper. I see a lot of swings and misses with Roman Quinn. I see a lot of swings and misses, unfortunately, with Adam Hazley, who I really like. I see a lot of swings and misses with Ozzie Albies. But I don't see many swings and misses with Bo Bichette. Maybe it's an approach thing, hand-eye coordination, bat-to-ball skills, as I've reiterated, but I don't see the swings and misses.
Yeah, and he's still
especially
powerful.
With good pitchers. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's not like he's just trying to make contact. Right?
I agree.
Like he's trying to drive balls, and he's still, he's probably next level vision as well. He probably has really good eyes. He has really good reflexes and transmitters on how quickly his eyes tell his brain to tell his body what to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Well, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on Apple, Google, Spotify. I hope you're subscribed, by the way. Pandora, iHeartRadio. We're on Pandora. So are you playing that? Are you playing the show in the Lab BCS? I think you should be.
I probably should. I mean, we have Pandora accounts and Spotify accounts to keep the music going, but why not be able to listen to me and you nonstop? I'm sure the parents and players would absolutely love that.
Well, they're truly getting their money's worth if you do that.
That's right. But then what if people think I'm talking to them, but I'm really not talking to them?
Well, that's their problem.
I should only play it when I'm not there. When I'm back in Denver, I should have the guys play the podcast so that my presence is known.
Yeah. You strike the fear of God into those students while you're not even there.
Yes, they'll be really confused, especially the young guys.
Yeah,
won't know what's going on.
If you haven't done so already, hit that, and you're watching the show on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, which should be over here, over there, on top of the page over there. So, boom, hit that subscribe button, and you get new episodes every week and clips and. Yeah, the Lab Epstein Hitting podcast page on YouTube. Plus our Mechanical Breakdown series, which we have one coming up in a couple of weeks. Guess who we're doing? You know who we're doing. Bo Bichette.
Bo Bichette, of course.
And we're doing Ronald Acuna Jr.
Oh, we're going to do both of them?
Well, we're not going to do both on the same day. We're going to spread it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are some pretty good hitters right there.
I agree. I know how to pick those Mechanical Breakdown series, don't I?
Yeah.
Hey, news came out this week about more potential rule changes that Major League Baseball may adopt in a couple of years. It may be on its way in the future. I kind of hope not, but maybe with the strike zone expanding. But Major League Baseball announced this week in their partnership with the Atlantic League a couple of experimental changes they'll be making in the Atlantic League this upcoming season. One of the rules that sticks out is the mound being moved back from 60 feet to 61 feet. That's a good way to get young players into the game. We talked about this on the program before. I stole that from a million people on Twitter who said the same thing. So about the computerized strike zone, you're for it. I'm not really for the computerized strike zone. We've talked about that, and maybe we'll touch back on that subject, kind of do a rewind on that subject on a future episode. But I'm not for the mound being pushed back either. It's to me, it's always 60 feet, 6 inches. I don't see how it improves the game. I don't see how it improves the pace of play of the game. I think it's going to get guys hurt. So where do you stand? And the other rule was the strike zone being a little bit bigger. Okay. I mean, we've been talking about that for years. The strike zone's a little bit bigger than, I mean, it's changed over the years. I'm sure it was when your dad played, when Ted Williams played, it was different. It's different now. Where do you stand though on the proposed rule of the mound being pushed back, what, a foot?
Foot and a half, right?
Was
it a foot and a half?
I think it's a foot and a half.
18 inches?
Yeah.
I think that's ludicrous.
Right.
But I guess what I don't know is, when the ball's traveling, I mean, for a fastball, I don't think it's a huge difference. I'm talking from the pitcher's perspective, right? The fastball is going to stay in the air, but breakable, I don't see how you do that.
Right.
Like, I really don't see how you do that to a pitcher. This guy's going to show up and be like, I got to throw from here?
Right.
And then how are they going to do that? They got to dig up all the old ballparks or just those ballparks and move home plate back. Well, you can't move home plate back because then you got to move the other bases. So you got to move the mound back, the whole mound. I don't know. I think that's silly. I think if you, I mean, what are we trying to accomplish here? Okay.
Well, I think you want more offensive play.
So if you want more offensive play, why are we talking about making the strike zone bigger? right? Like that doesn't make sense. If we make the strike zone bigger, that's going to hurt the. So I think I think the only way to truly help everyone is the robotic strike zone, because then from there you can, if all of a sudden that strike zone and you take away the substances, if that's even an issue with pitchers, doctoring up balls and higher spin rates or whatever. But if you make that strike zone actually a strike zone, which is really hard to do. Don't get me wrong. I don't think the computerized thing is easy. I don't think it's easy at all, because where is it? Is it right at the front of home plate? You have so many pitches that drop, breaking balls that drop and clip the front of the plate and it could possibly bounce. That could be called strikes. But the player's front knee is nowhere near the front of the plate, right? The player's front knee might be 6 inches behind that, so it never crosses his knees. Yeah. So it's like, how do we really do that? Maybe the pitchers have, or maybe the hitters have, I don't know. You couldn't do that anyway. I was thinking maybe sensors, in their socks or something like that showed where or their shoes or something like that. And then they knew X amount of feet above that. But, I get the left and right. If you make the left and right, and listen, you can still throw one ball off the plate as long as a tiny little piece of that ball hits that strike zone.
Yeah.
So I think the whole left to right could be computerized. And I think that's what most people are concerned about. I think if you give it to an umpire and say, hey, make the strike zone bigger, totally arbitrary. Like some guys are going to make it bigger. Some guys aren't. Some guys are going to make it too big. Some guys aren't. So I think that's really difficult. But getting back to your question of,
wait a second. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry. Quick question. You're saying, so the umpire, put it in the hands of the umpire to decide the computerized strike zone for that day?
No. Oh. I mean, overall,
that would be a good idea, though. Zone. Think about it. But you would know, teams would know better what the computerized strike zone would be if, say, Joe West was behind the plate that day. That's part of the umpire's job.
I think
so. It doesn't really take out the umpire's job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but then it's like, why have a computerized strike zone if it's going to change every day?
For more in-game accuracy.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, I think it would be cool, like if after every pitch, the umpire got to see where that pitch was. Yeah, they put it on the scoreboard.
I just gave Major League Baseball an
idea.
You're
wrong. It said you're wrong. Be better next time, Joe. That's what I think would be cool.
I'm watching more and more games, and I'm starting to get into the robotic strike zone, because I'm seeing pitches that are borderline, that are called balls, and pitches that are off the plate that are called strikes. I'm not saying I can umpire. I'm not saying it's an easy job.
No, it's not.
It's not. But you know what?
No, and guys are throwing hard.
And pitching has gotten so good. You hate to admit it because we're hitting guys, but pitching has
it's gotten really good.
It's gotten so good. The evolution of the human body has changed. I mean, Tyler Glasnow the other day for the Rays, he's got an 80 curveball. His curveball's an 80.
Is that the guy that jumps off the mound?
No, that's the guy the Pirates That's the guy the Pirates stupidly traded, thinking he couldn't pitch because their scouts are stupid, or actually their analytics are stupid. So they said, "Oh, we should trade him to the Rays," and the Rays picked him up, and he's dominating. Hope that helps as a reference. Hope that helps.
But that doesn't help my question of the guy that hops and then releases the ball.
I think is that Diego Castillo?
No. He throws like 100 miles an hour too. But he like starts on the rubber, and then as he's going forward, he pushes off the rubber. It's not like he pushes off the rubber and lets go of the ball like most normal people, but he actually like hops and then goes.
I think I know who you're talking about. He's got somewhat of a lower 3/4 arm.
I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, we gotta get our interns on that.
We need
interns to research.
Yeah.
Right. I also want to point out a statistic for you through the first couple of weeks of the season, and this stat isn't concrete, by the way. I just saw it a few days ago. But the first 2 weeks of the season, teams have combined averaging 18 strikeouts per game. Ooh, robotic strike zones, please. And you have to take into account, too, that there are some 7-inning games as well. So that number looks even worse. It's astronomical, in fact.
Wow.
And I'm looking at some teams, hiring some certain people and certain guys in positions on the hitting side and their player development department and whatnot. And one of them coming from someone who we've talked about before, who took his legs out of the swing, was on an apparatus swinging, like a clown and whatnot. And people are coming from that coaching tree, which is great. But we have astronomical amount of strikeouts in the game. So I don't know, maybe it's not so much moving the mound back as much as it is maybe, I don't know, just hiring the right people in baseball. I'm not anti-data, but moving the mound back, to me, it's not going to help hitters in any way. It's really, you're not going to see any sort of change whatsoever. We just don't have the right systems in place that where teaching the data blends with teaching the true fundamentals of hitting, as you do, by the way.
You can't have it both ways. You can't. Yeah. You can't. I think the mound thing's weird. I mean, that's going to mess up hitters too.
Yeah.
I think, it really will. I think you're going to see a lot of hitters, which is totally contradictory to what should be happening, but you'll see them move up 18 inches in the box.
Right.
Instead of being in the back of the box, they'll be more towards the middle of the front of the box because it's going to mess up their timing too. I mean, for the last 20, or I don't know how long they've been playing, but 18 years of their life, the ball has been, coming out from this distance, and all of a sudden, well, it won't be that many, ever since whenever they go to 60-foot mound. So I think that's really weird. I think I definitely don't agree with that one. But when you look at analytics and you look at Bo Bichette's home run the other day, that was a pop fly to right field. I mean, if we get 5 hits today and 3 of them are home runs and we have a couple walks and hits in there, all of a sudden we score 5 runs. Maybe we win 5-3. That's a pretty good day. And we don't care if we struck out every other time. So it's, I am not privy on those conversations with major league organizations, the real, data-driven, what they want. So, but you can't get upset at coaches or players if you're not scoring any runs, and that's your motto. Because if you don't hit 3 home runs today, you're going to lose. You're going to score 1 run. And so that's the problem. Like, if you don't hit balls the right way, you're in big trouble. And so, where is it? And maybe it needs to go back to being, quote, old school of, hey, let's try to hit a line drive in the gap. And if we get under it a little bit, maybe it goes out of the park. And if we get over a little bit, maybe it's still hard enough to get through, and we're running into more pitches. Our contact rates are higher, our on base average is higher because of that. Are we scoring more runs? But we've definitely gotten away from that. And I think that's the primary reason why baseball is where it is, why the strikeouts are so high and people aren't real sure what is right now on the offensive side.
Yeah. But you just right there, we did in the beginning of the show, you talked about what was wrong with Bo in that swing, but then you brought up what he did right in that swing and why he hit it out of the park. I mean, you did it just on a whim, probably seeing it once or twice. I saw it like a 10-second clip on Twitter, and then I commented on it. And then Steve, our friend from Stance Doctor in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Oh, he was very excited.
Which I loved going to, by the way. It's a great place. Just want to give him a quick plug.
Steve. He's good. He's good friends with Dante. Bichette. They've known each other for a long time. Yeah. So, I'm sure he knows Bo and saw him growing up, at the facility. But
I'm sure he would agree too, though, that, I mean, he could probably tell right off the bat, like you did with Bo. But how many coaches, though, in the game today, I wonder, and I'm sorry, I wonder this, I have to, though. How many coaches in the game today, though, really know right off just by seeing a 10-second clip, know what a guy did right and what a guy did wrong without having to look at the data at all? That's what scares me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Not enough.
Yeah. Right.
Rhetorically. Yeah. Not enough. No. And again, there wasn't anything wrong with it. I'm not going to, there wasn't anything. He had a game-winning home run.
Yeah.
Results pay the bills, right?
I do.
That's just the way it was. And that's, he did it right. But I mean, if he was, this much higher on the baseball, that ball would have gone out by 150 feet.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not like there was nothing wrong with the swing. It was a great swing. It was a great aggressive swing on a pitch low and away, which most people will like kind of roll over. And he stayed through it. He had a lower fall through and caught the bottom of the ball. It stayed in the air. The wind got it, whatever. But it's great. It's great hitting. At that time, right? At that game. Now, if the wind wasn't blowing out and the guy caught it at the warning track, nobody would talk about it, right?
Right. Well, I would still be talking about his numbers, though. They're pretty good.
They would. He just would have one less game-winning home run.
Yes, he would. Yes, he would. By the way, for the record of people, I want to make clear that Ep is not against data. We've talked about data in previous episodes of the show.
Yeah, not at all.
Jake loves it. He's taught me more about it than anybody ever has or anybody has ever wanted to. So I appreciate my friend, former coach, friend, and co-host doing that for me. We're not against data. We're just saying.
No, not at all.
Not at all. We're just saying common sense here.
Yeah, data used in the right context and in the right way is what's great about the game.
Yes.
But if you just take data as as 90% of truth, as 90, I mean, I guess it would be 100% truth, right? It's data, but 90% of the game, how the game is played, I think data needs to be, in that 65 to 70%. Okay, we have this, that, and the other, but we can also be successful doing other things.
Hey, don't forget to follow us too on social media at Jim Tara, me at Epstein Hitting, Ep, the People's Champ, on Twitter and Instagram.
I like that, by the way.
You're the People's Champ.
Yeah, I like that too.
If you smell what the Ep is cooking.
That's right.
You had a great tweet.
I can only do the eyebrow.
No, yeah, that's hard. I can't do it either. The same people that can do the eyebrow are the same people that can do that tongue thing. That they can fold their tongue in weird ways.
Yeah.
You had a great tweet, by the way, this past week on Twitter at Epstein Hitting, by the way, talking about Yermin Mercedes. Why am I just hearing about that guy for the first time this year? Did he just come out of nowhere? Did he just come out of nowhere? Because I pay attention just as much as anybody.
Is he a rookie? Like I'm assuming he just got brought up or something. Yeah. Holy cow!
He's pretty. I mean,
this dude is. I mean, he looks like he weighs like 270 and he's like 5'10. Is what he looks like.
Williams Astudillo.
Yeah, and he is so thick and compact and swings the shillelagh like it weighs nothing. And his rhythm might be the greatest, smoothest, earliest balanced rhythm I've seen in a player ever. Like, I don't know. I watch I watch hitters all the time.
Yeah.
And I went to a game yesterday in College Station. Went to a softball game, so I'm constantly like looking at hitters. It was A&M against Ole Miss, and kind of seeing what would make this player better, what would make that player better. It's kind of how my brain thinks, and it always at that level it always comes back to rhythm. How many times can you be able? And there's softball players that stride like him, which is beyond comprehensible to me because it's so short at 43 feet and they throw so hard at, upper 60s, right? In the big conferences. So, but they're able to do it. And it's like anything else. If you start early enough and you can balance and get to the top of your stride at the right time and not be jumpy, you can be very successful. And Mercedes has got it down. Got it.
Let me just ask you this, and maybe expand on this a little bit on your tweet. You said here, slow motion rhythm and fast motion swing, and you remarked how that's the best combo ever. So can you just kind of expand on that a little bit?
No, I just made it up at the moment.
Okay. So no expanding.
It's conversation. So no.
That's why they don't call you the People's Champ, or that's why they call you the People's Champ.
So my dad used to tell me this long ago, and he said all the old timers used to tell me, right? And Big Mike's old. Big Mike's 78. So I mean, this was people that probably played like in the 50s would say slow feet, quick hands. Yeah, that's what makes a good hitter. Slow feet, quick hands, and that's essentially what he's doing. He has the slowest stride getting his feet in position, and he's able to store energy and wait, while his foot's in the air, and then boom, he can launch that swing at 100 miles an hour or 100% speed at any moment. And I think that's good. Some people, it's kind of like playing the drums, right? When I was a kid, they were like, hey, you want to play instruments? Right? And I'm like, yeah, I'll play the drums. That's what the cool people play, right? Drums and guitar. So I'm like, I'll go play the drums. So they're like, well, you got to be able to do this beat with your feet, and then you got to be able to do like a different beat with your hands. Well, I couldn't do it. Like the brain and the whatever couldn't work at the time. So they gave me the trumpet because it only had 3 buttons. And then I never played an instrument again. But I don't even remember what we were talking about.
Well, we're talking about slow feet, quick hands. But you know what? I think what we should do is do a topic on that one day. You had slow feet, quick hands doing the drums. That didn't work out.
I had
but
bad
in hitting,
feet and quick hands. Yeah, you have to be able to do two different things, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be able to go slow with the feet, and then you got to be able to drop that front foot and go fast with your body. So a lot of people, including myself as a hitter, I was, if I got excited and I was going to like swing harder, I wanted to do damage, I would step faster. Everything would speed up, right? Pitchers do it all the time. I got to throw this ball harder. They speed up their motion. But for you to be able to slow down your motion and then speed up, the ball coming out of your hand at the right time, or your barrel, slow feet, and then building that energy to, maximize that point of impact. That's a very difficult task to do. That's the kinematic sequencing. But it does start with timing and rhythm, which everybody says you got to have, what's more important, timing or technique, right? Well, if you have perfect timing all the time, it doesn't matter how good your technique is. You can hit. If you're only on plane for this much, but you're always on time for that spot, you can still be successful. Well, no one's timing is that good, right? So good mechanics can make your timing better, essentially, is what we're trying to do as people. But guys that are able to buy time and control their bodies like that and still be, boom, super quick to the ball, his time to impact is probably 0.14 seconds, 0.15 seconds or less than that, maybe.
Yeah.
With that kind of rhythm is amazing.
Mm-hmm. I played my instrument experience. I played when I was in second grade.
Still on this, huh?
What's that?
Still on. You didn't hear anything I just said. Your ADD kicked in. You're like, I'm just thinking about my instruments.
No, I did. I heard everything. I heard everything you said. I promise. And we're going to do don't worry, everybody. We'll do an episode on slow feet, quick hands one day. Someday, probably later in the year. We've got our episode sheet, our lineup lined up, and we're a little jam-packed right now. Lined up. But I played an instrument in second grade too. I played the saxophone, and I was so bad.
That's not an easy one.
No, I was so bad when I was practicing at home. I was so bad that I overheard my dad tell my mom that one night, if he keeps playing that fucking thing, I'm wrapping around his neck.
That's good, especially when you're in second grade.
And then when
very similar childhoods.
And then when I after that heard that, I decided to hang it up and quit. And then when I decided to quit, my parents, who don't like us, my sister and me quitting things, my mom said to me, "Yeah, you're a little busy. It's probably better." So
it's probably better. That's good for the sake of the family.
Oh man, good stuff. We have a listener question coming up later on in the show as well. So if you have a question for us, feel free to reach out. JimboPodcast21@gmail.com. Again, JimboPodcast21@gmail.com. What is it, People's Champ?
JimboPodcast21@gmail.com.
There you go. Very good.
Took me a year to figure that one out.
50 episodes. Main topic time, being a coachable player, episode 51 of the Lab Epstein Hitting podcast. Thank you for being with us today. You illustrated it perfectly on last week's show, actually, about how athletes make great future employees, and they do. Most anyway, because they at one point in their lives, and still are as adults, coachable. And I guess being coachable in the game of baseball, and especially with hitting, because you have to be patient, because you fail if you're good and successful at the major league level 7 out of 10 times, 6, maybe 5 out of 10 times when you're at lower levels. But because of it's such a game of failure, you almost are forced into being coachable.
Yeah, coachable has many different contexts. Some people think coachable is, he's a good kid, or she's a good kid. She listens. She doesn't get into trouble. But being coachable to me is telling a player something, and they're able to do it. They're able to do it quickly. For instance, you tell players, "Look, we're learning to run the bases. I want you to hit the inside of the base with your right foot." And all of a sudden, a girl or boy that is, just learning how to play the game, they hit it every time with their right foot, and they overdo it. Maybe they get it to second base and you see them like shuffle or stutter step to try to get their right foot to hit it. And I'm like, that's a coachable person. I told them once, versus the kid I'm telling, 3 weeks later, hey, you got to touch the base with your right foot. Or you got to get your lead at the right time. Like if you're constantly telling people the same thing, they're not coachable. not because maybe they're bad kids, but because they don't really care to learn anything new.
Right.
On a personal note, my daughter is very coachable. I told her, we were working on our grip a couple weeks ago. Hey, I need you to turn your top hand here. And then she would do it. But if I tell her something else and she has an opinion because she's 10 years old, she'll be like, yeah, I know. Or blah, blah, blah. Or whatever, dad. Or yeah. but when I look at her on the grip, she'll do it every time. So what that means is she's not a nice person to her dad, but she is very coachable. Right?
You sound like my father. Jesus.
Because she listens. Did you ever grow out of that? Good night. I'm almost ready to just pack up softball and do something I don't know anything about. Tennis. Just go play tennis the rest of your life.
Yeah,
totally good with that.
Right.
So I know parents out there. I mean, that would be a good topic. Is how do you work with your own kids?
Yeah.
Right. I get that question all the time, and it's very difficult. My online academy members figured it out. Maybe it's because I'm the voice in the background telling them what to do.
Yep.
And the dads are just, they're just relaying that information. But I'll tell you what, I'm having a rough time, with my kid, telling her, I'm trying to get her arm, she kind of short arms it, right? So I'm trying to get her to get back with her thumb down more, throwing. And every time I say it to remind her, she gets all moody and upset and pissed off. And so I need somebody else to tell her that.
The joys of being a parent. I can't wait. I'm gonna just
send my you're going to be.
I'm going to send my kids to you,
Tony.
I'm going to send my.
Right. Well, that's easy. No, it is. That's what people say. God, they listen to you all the time. This and that. And I'm like, well, it's what I do. But it's your own kid. It's just the way that, my wife's constantly telling her, dad does this like all the time with players that are your age and players that are on TV all the time.
You know who your grandfather is, right?
Yeah, right. She'd probably listen to Big Mike.
Yeah.
But
also, you know what? I'd rather and we'll do. That's a great idea, by the way. We will do a topic on how to coach your own kids. I don't think it's truly possible to do it 100%. Coach your own kids. I think it's impossible to do. But I don't care who you are. I'm sure the Bichettes had problems coaching their own kids too. But I'll say this. I'd rather. And this is just off topic here. I'd rather invest my money sending my kids to you, someone who completely knows what they're doing, than have to put in that time to try and fighting. Because you know what? Half the battle, it's what it turns into, is fighting.
Right.
You're just wasting time. I 100% can be dedicated to you just teaching them the entire
right.
Time. So I'd rather invest my money that way.
I have to take her somewhere. That's the problem. I got to take her somewhere. I don't know where.
You don't know where.
Dominican.
You just take her.
She'll learn Spanish and learn how to play.
Take her to your father, her grandfather. That could work, right?
That could work. He's a little harsh sometimes, though.
Is he really? He comes from that generation, huh?
Big Mike and the 10-year-old is, no, he's a big softy now, but way back when.
Oh yeah. So I have a couple of Nick Saban quotes I want to throw along here because I think that being coachable also involves being a great teammate as well. They're hand in hand. So the first quote here from Nick Saban: "We create a standard for how we want to do things, and everybody's got to buy into that standard, or you really can't have any team chemistry. Mediocre people don't like high achievers, and high achievers don't like mediocre people." That's the first quote. Second quote: "People who are role models for the principles and values of the organization, who buy in and understand the vision of what the organization is trying to accomplish, and have the personality to inspire other people to that vision. That's what team chemistry and leadership is all about." So ultimately, if you are coachable, you become a great teammate, you buy into the program, and you become, when it's your time, when you're not a rookie or you're not a freshman or whatever the case may be, you become that next leader. And it just you keep passing the buck along, if you will.
Yeah. And what happens to team leaders? They become coaches. Yeah, they really do. They become assistant coaches that become head coaches because that's the way that they're, leaders, are born for the most part. Like, it's very difficult to make somebody a leader that doesn't have that kind of personality.
What are those traits? What are those traits of that type personality, you think?
You have to be motivated. You have to be able to connect with your teammates. Whether your teammates are older than you or younger than you have to be able to connect with them and include them and want them to, you want to go to battle with them. And I thought what was really cool when I was in college at actually, because I played at both Missouri and Fullerton. At Fullerton, they were our captains were voted on at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Which I thought was wild. So you went through the whole year and then you voted who was your best teammate, who was your captain, who was blah, blah, blah. And that was one of the best honors I ever had, was a plaque that said, team captain. And next to it says voted. It wasn't just like the head coach said, you're the captain.
Yeah.
And for me, going into a program my senior year and to essentially become a captain, only being in the program for 1 year, was one of the greatest achievements I had. I was on and considered off the field, right? I had good moments on the field too, but that's a neat thing, because it means that people have your back.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what I did. I know I was a captain at Mizzou too. It was probably my junior year. I think we were usually always upperclassmen as captains, and that was early in the year. The head coach kind of made, okay, you two guys are captains, based on how people follow you and how you lead. And those captains have to almost create a council. They have to monitor, they have to police that locker room. Like if guys are getting out of hand, they have to police the parties. They have to police the guys going out, on the road or something like that. And if you have good leadership, of players that you've recruited, I think that's a very important. I think when coaches recruit people, I think they need to talk about, well, what kind of leader are they? What kind of person are they? Ask their assistant coaches, ask their other coaches, ask the people that, if they volunteer time and do things like that. Because I've played on teams that didn't have much leadership, and I've coached teams that didn't have any leadership. They don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
They don't go anywhere. And being coachable is part of that. If a coach tells you to do something and you do it, and the other players see that, then it's like, oh, well, if he's going to do it, he's our best player. If he's going to do it, maybe we should do it too. But if you have players that don't respect the head coach, or they don't see eye to eye with the coach, or the coach doesn't have that kind of presence or relate to the players, then you have mutiny on your hands, and nobody cares about anybody, and you're just trying to get the season over with. And I've seen that happen as well.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
One of my favorite shows is Bar Rescue. I don't know if you've heard of that show before, but the one I've heard this quote so many times, but I heard it from John Taffer, one of my favorite guys ever, by the way. He talked about how good employees there's also types of good employees, I'm paraphrasing here, that are, in a way, and this is my words, coachable, where they may not have that necessary skill set, but you can teach them that. What you can teach is work ethic, and it applies also to every sport, but especially baseball. If they don't have that work ethic to want to go out and be ready to play every day, want to do the little things, then there's nothing you can do for them. I mean, and it hinders their own career, quite frankly.
And the same thing, you try to get guys in your program that do have that work ethic.
Yeah.
Sometimes, what you don't want to get to is where you have one or two guys that have that work ethic and you have 20 guys that don't.
Then
it's dangerous. A real problem.
Yeah.
Then everybody is kind of hating the guy that's making everybody look bad.
Yeah.
What is this guy trying to do? Is he trying to show us up? No, that's just how the kid's wired. You lazy shit, get your ass in the weight room, right? Or get into early batting practice, whatever it is. So you can't be a one-man leadership. It has to be a council. It has to be a council. And if you don't, then, if you have a monarchy, so to speak, then, people aren't real happy with that one guy, if he's vocal about, getting guys in there and get guys to do things. So, leadership and coachability, again, is, how do I respond to what somebody's telling me? Does somebody just tell me that? And I'm talking about relating this more to the amateur level, to the lower levels. Did coach tell me to do this? Does coach have to tell me that every single day? Didn't we talk about the lead? Okay. So again, going back to like basic fundamentals with my daughter, I said, look, you need to, when you're leading off at third base, you need to lead and foul, take your lead in foul territory, because the ball hits you, right? You're going to be out. But when you come back on the insides, because if they throw it down there, maybe it'll hit your shoulder and you'll be able to score, right?
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, I heard her telling another player that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was like, boom, did my job. Like, that's how it should work, right? You tell players and then they spread the message with everyone else. And it doesn't have to be about base running or anything. It could be life in general. It could be Nick Saban talking to, one of his players that takes that same information into the weight room when they have a 6 a.m. workout. And when you have players like that are, what's the best way to spreading the gospel of what you're trying to accomplish as a coach.
Yeah.
Then it's a beautiful thing.
It's infectious. Exactly. Yeah.
It's infectious. Yeah, that's a great word.
Another question. You were in college baseball very recently.
Mm-hmm.
When you're recruiting guys, how do you recognize those traits of leadership and how they could be coachable? Because again, you run into sometimes, it's just like scouting. Sometimes you're wrong, sometimes you're right. All depends. And coaching too, by the way, it all depends on the players. So what traits do you look for when you're recruiting in college?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same as data, right? So, a lot of people are looking at just data. How many home runs did he hit last year? What's his exit velo? What's his 60? What's his vertical? What's his split? What does he look like in the field? And then you have the other attributes of what kind of jumps does he get on the bases? What kind of jumps does he get in the outfield? What kind of jumps does he get on the infield? What's his baseball IQ? Does he know where he's going? Does he know if he's an outfielder where he should be throwing the ball? Like, is there a baseball IQ? How do others perceive him on his team? So that would be something that would be very important to me. Yeah. Does he sit down? Is he talking to other players about the game on the bench? Do guys surround him or her when they're done hitting or when they're on defense? Yeah. Who's bringing everybody up after a half inning where we just, walked a bunch of guys, we made a couple errors? Who's that player that's getting everybody together? The problem with a lot of programs in college sports is they're micromanaged, they're overcoached. So a coach thinks, okay, I have to get everybody in here to bring it up, so to speak, and then chew some ass or give some words of confidence, right? And I was guilty of this too. Like, if we had a bad couple innings, I get the hitters together and do it. But can you have a player do that? Because if you do, it's probably worth 10 times what you're saying as a coach. Yeah. That's how players perceive. And I remember my dad told me about, his World Series team. He said it was an interesting dynamic. Like, we had guys that didn't like each other, but we had a common goal. And if anybody was out of line, we had their back. And that's even if we hated them. Yeah. Even if we had a player we couldn't stand on our team, if somebody from an opposing team did something that wasn't acceptable. And he said that's what made us a great team. We had good talent, we had some good pitching and whatnot, but we were a tight unit of guys. And you hear that all the time when you hear about, national championship teams. Yeah.
Yeah. And how the chemistry grows over time as well. I mean, that is so tough though, finding the character.
You can't make it. You can't make it in a lab.
No. DCS.
Yeah.
No, you can't. Now here's a conundrum though that I've written down here and I want to ask you about. Sometimes those you have to find the right coach, because sometimes it's just not a good fit, and then you're deemed not coachable, but you just don't have the right leadership or the right coach. So how do you go about, if you're a parent, if you're a kid, how do you go about finding that right coach that's a good fit for you to where you can be a coachable player?
Yeah, I don't think you can change as a player. I think you have to. That's a great question. How you have to spend time with that coach as much as you can.
Right.
And that's the only way to do it. You have to find people that know that coach, maybe players that have played there, during the, during the previous seasons. I remember asking on my recruiting trips, what's the coaching staff like? Right. What are they? Yeah. What are the hitters? What are the hitters like? What are the hitting coaches like? What's the head coach like? Do you have to make appointments to meet with the coach? Does the coach not ever take a meeting with a player? Do you have to talk to a grad assistant, or what's the layout? And really, you don't know. You have a feel for, hey, I'm I'm rolling into this, my recruiting trip, and all of a sudden the coach spends 4 minutes with you, the head coach, and asks you a couple blanket questions and then gives you an offer. Okay, I have no idea. Yeah. Right. I mean, I'm talking about a big time SEC program, it might be like this because they bring in 60 recruits at a time or something like that. And it's like, okay, we can give you 40%, this and that. You have until the end of the hour to make your decision. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden, here comes in door number. Here comes the next guy. Yeah. He's coming in, and that's just how it is. And then you have other, smaller schools that are going to really sit down and talk to you because they have to. It's not like your Harvard admissions, right? It's like we really need you. You don't need Harvard, kind of thing. So, as a player, it's really important to try to have a conversation with your potential coach. Ask them the right questions. They may not tell you exactly how it is, but you have to rely on third party information as well. Maybe people that have been in that program before.
Yeah, sure. Did I miss anything on Coachable this week? Being coachable this week? I want to make sure we touched on everything.
Yeah, I mean, we talked mostly about, listening and taking that information and, to heart, but you also can't be a prick. I didn't want to see like, it doesn't matter if you're a jerk, you also can't be a prick, and you can't be a prick to your teammates, and you can't be a prick to your coaches. So, it's hard, baseball is a very individual sport. And sometimes I say, I have players here and I'm like, hey, how'd you do this weekend? And they'll say, oh, we won 2 out of 3 games. And I'll say, no, how did you do this weekend?
Yeah.
I don't really care how your 12-year-old team did. I care about how you did. And so sometimes what's cool about that is the players are like, oh, okay. But it does tell me that player cares about his team.
Yes, and he's a winner, and he wants to win.
And he wants to win. And so, you have to kind of differentiate that. What's more important? But when your teammates do, it's the hardest thing in the world because people root for their teammates to fail all the time.
Yeah.
Look, I want to play. I'm second string. I want to play. If you have a coaching staff that allows. How do you say it? You want to have a clear starter, I guess is the best way to put it. Like this guy earned the right last year, or he earned the right in the fall, right? And that's my guy. I'm going to send him out there. But as soon as you start shuffling, that guy went into a little lull, I'm going to throw somebody else in. And then all of a sudden, this guy, we start going here. And then all of a sudden, everybody gets upset. Like, oh my God, why am I not getting a chance to start? Why don't I get any at-bats? Yeah. This guy got some at-bats. And it's very, very difficult. But when you have a team where you're constantly shuffling people in and out to try to find that magic mix, what happens is players get very, very upset, and they feel like, oh, I should be in there. That guy's 0 for 10. Oh, he just made another out. God, I hope he punches out again. Maybe I'll get to play, next game if this guy punches out.
Yeah.
Ooh. And I've seen it on the other side as a coach. It's like, what do I do? How long do I stick with this person? What is the proper, approach there? But, hopefully you're in a position where it's like, hey, man, these are my starters. I'm going to run them out there every day. And if I give you 50, I'm going to give you 50 at bats. If I give you 50 at bats and you're 2 for 50, okay, I'm going to bring somebody else in. But if I give you 8 at bats and then all of a sudden I start pinch hitting for you in the 7th inning or the 8th inning, and then all of a sudden you don't start, then that guy's pissed off. Then the new guy comes in. Well, he's not going to catch fire probably. So now all of a sudden the guy on the bench is hoping this guy struggles. The guy that's struggling is like, crap, I hope I don't struggle. Now he's putting extra pressure on himself. And then your entire season implodes on you. Yeah. So it's a dynamic and then honestly, that is why some coaches are very successful because they know how to handle that dynamic. And some coaches are always under a lot of stress because they don't know how to handle it.
All right. If you have any questions for us, shoot us an email, jimbopodcast21@gmail.com. We do have a question that comes to us from JJ from Plymouth Rock, Pennsylvania. JJ.
Well, we've heard from JJ before.
Loyal listener to the show, sent to us via jimbopodcast21@gmail.com. JJ writes, Jim and Jake, saw Jake's analysis of Pete Alonso, and after seeing him against the Mets last week, he can't hit a fastball up in the zone. He's noticeably late under those pitches. After listening to Jake explain the straight position of his bat and his load, I figured that might be the reason. If Alonso did tilt his bat a little toward his head, do you think that would help him time those pitches better? I like to see Jake do an analysis of Aaron Judge and maybe Phillies great Dick Allen. Thanks. That is from JJ from Plymouth.
Great.
Yes, and that is from JJ from Plymouth, Pennsylvania. In parentheses, he writes, not Plymouth Rock. So JJ from Plymouth, Pennsylvania.
That's right.
Thank you for saying that in, JJ. Loyal listener to the show.
Didn't we talk like a half hour on the Plymouth Rock?
Yeah, we did.
And the Mayflower. Okay.
I think that
JJ's like, oh God, not again. Here we go.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen Alonso hit much during the season, especially when I'm here in Texas. All our classes are in the evening, so I don't get to watch much baseball. I get the highlights, right? So what do highlights show? Not guys swinging under pitches, right? Not guys, being late on fastball. So yeah, if he's got a little barrel dump going on right now, and he doesn't have nearly what like a Judge would have in terms of a barrel drop, but if he does, anyone like that is going to be susceptible to pitches that are up in the zone. Especially high riding or high spin rate fastballs, at the belt or something like that. The question of if he kept his top hand cocked and kept that bat maybe pointed a little bit over the head as he brings his hands through, would that keep his bat up? Possibly. Like in theory, yes. In theory, yes. He could also start with it like that, and then as he goes to swing, it could accentuate maybe that bat going back. So he's got it tight and cocked and creating tension, and then boom, he flaps it the other way, so that could cause another problem. But essentially, yes, he needs to keep that top hand a little bit more vertical as he goes to swing. So as it's more vertical as he comes through, if he opens it like this, then what happens? That's going to drop the barrel. So if he starts it more like this, by the time he gets to the right spot, will it only be at that angle versus that angle? Quite possibly. So yeah, good observation, and probably a really good, possibly simple fix for somebody like him. Simple fix in terms of our thought process. Somebody that's probably had their bat up like this for 10 years might be a really difficult thing for him to try to adjust, but it would definitely be worth a shot.
See, this is why everybody listening, you have to watch on the YouTube page, the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast YouTube page, because Jake just explained it eloquently, and it's a lot better with a visual.
You're right, because I was using my hand. Now they don't know where the hand is.
Yeah. Hey, good news. Our interns of the show found out who the guy was who throws 100 and he hops forward. Carter Capps is his name.
Oh, Tommy got it in? Tommy dug it up. Our intern, Tommy? Yeah. Carter Capps. Yeah, you should look that up. It was on Twitter, right? I think it was on Twitter.
That's what Tommy
the dude, did you see him hop like that? Like that can't be legal.
I think Sean Doolittle might have commented on that before about how it's not legal.
Doolittle, the old pitcher?
Sean Doolittle.
Or does he still pitch? The left-handed guy won a World Series.
The Reds. First season with the Reds. He's now with the Reds. First season with the Reds.
But he was with the Nats, right? That guy?
And Carter Capps, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't Doolittle. Maybe he was mentioning somebody else. But Carter Capps now, it does ring a bell. So good job, Tommy, for sending in the our intern.
Yeah, boy, Tommy. Yeah, I'm trying to see. I'm clicking on the link Tommy gave us. It looks like this guy pitches for the Marlins.
Yeah.
Carter Capps.
Okay, it does. That makes sense. Yeah.
Hops and throws 100 miles an hour forward to 57 feet before he finishes his windup. Might want to he almost steps into the grass.
Yeah.
That's how far down the mound he gets.
So for him, when the Atlantic League goes back to 61 inches, stupidly, it's not going to matter.
He's got it set up.
If that comes to Major League Baseball, I think all pitchers should just hop, just do that, and just go back to 60 feet and then throw.
Right. Yeah. We'll start teaching that here. I'll talk to our pitching guys. See if we can get that move going.
What are your pitching guys
for the Sally League?
What do your pitching guys think of that new possible rule? Do they think anything about it?
I don't know yet. I'll find out tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't
send Tommy on it. Tommy could figure it out and send it back.
Yeah, I know. I haven't talked to him because it was so fresh, and so new, and then I just got down here. So I can't imagine anybody likes it. But
tell him that really Jim wants to know for the podcast.
I will.
Tell him I said it in that voice, very stern.
Okay. Yeah, you're a pretty mean guy.
I was on Twitter this week. I also saw Dante Bichette. He was telling somebody about bat lag. He was explaining bat lag, and I was like, "Oh, look, see, we are saying the right things on the podcast. Told you." By the way, Bo Bichette joined Ronald Acuna Jr. as the only players this week with 2 multi-home run performances this season. And Bo also reached the 20 home run mark in 87 games, the fastest in team history, as you saw those watching on the graphic earlier in the show. Well, lucky for all of you, our next 2 Mechanical Breakdown series covers the swings of Bo Bichette and Ronald Acuna, not Acuna, for that Braves fan who was mocking Bryce Harper, and Bryce so eloquently corrected him. It's Acuna. Acuna. I mean, you hear his name. If you're a Braves fan, you should be able to say his name. You hear it a million times, idiot. It's Acuna. Ronald Acuna Jr. Those are the next 2 Mechanical Breakdown series. Next week, we are doing our first ever overrated, underrated show topic, where we discuss things in hitting, baseball, life, fitness, etc., that are overrated and underrated.
Love it.
It may fall flat. It may be great. Who knows? We're just going to go in there blindfolded and, see what happens. Kind of what we do almost every week on the show. We'll see.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. I like that.
When in doubt, you just say, we'll see.
We'll see.
There should be some good ones, though. And by the way, everybody, you can send in some small topics for us to analyze, overrated, underrated, to
Jimbo Podcast 21 at gmail.com.
Jimbo Podcast, or our social media pages at Jim Tara on Epstein, or
you're right. I don't know
Tara,
about the first one, but at Epstein Hitting is one of them.
Yeah, on Twitter and Instagram. And at Jim Tara on Twitter and Instagram as well. So send in your questions too. We'll take your questions. But overrated, underrated, our first ever. And if it's a hit and we like it and we enjoy it and you guys enjoy it, we'll do it again. But next week's our first edition. We got some great topics coming up too, by the way. So looking forward to our next 9 topics. Do you have any plugs for the lab this week? Lab BCS in College Station, Texas.
No, it's awesome. Come see us.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh, no specials, no pricing, nothing like that. You gotta want to talk about
kicking
something.
ass. Talk about something.
Like something's got to be going on that you're like, whoa, we gotta.
Well, we are getting ready for summer camps. Camp season.
You're welcome.
Summer camp season. Yes, summer camp season right around the corner. School's almost out. Yeah,
that's right.
Definitely come see us. Come see us. We got great stuff. Like fundamentals we'll be working in the mornings, followed by fun games. We have 2 hit tracks. Sorry, that's kind of cool too. We have another hit tracks that will be installed this week. Right, we will now have 2 hit track stations in the facility. That's pretty big news. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. That's okay. So we'll get that installed. So we'll have like home run derby games indoors. We'll have home run derby games outdoors. We're gonna have sandlot games going on in the afternoon. So it'll be a lot of fun for all the kids this summer that are that need to get better and want something to do and can kind of do both. Okay.
So where do they go to find all this?
They go to the labbcs.com. You can find us on the worldwide interweb.
The internet, where our podcast is located: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube. Okay, right. Well, that's it. We've had enough laughs, enough hitting talk, and just enough chatting today. So we're out of time. We'll see you all next week. You take care now.